The story I shared today with a bunch of people at the festival, and it seemed to be pretty popular, I'm going to share with you tonight. Now, there was something that happened a few weeks ago in the sky. And it was a huge deal, and don't look at it, it'll blind you. Of course, we're talking about the solar eclipse. Now, I'm going to tell you what really happened with the solar eclipse. And it may not be what they told you on the news. You see, native people of the Southeast believe that the world is divided into 3 layers. You have the upper layer, which is where Abba Banili, Creator, and all the winged creatures reside. You have the middle layer for the Hatak, the people. And then you have the underworld. We didn't look at the underworld like it's looked at today. It wasn't really necessarily a deep, dark, demonic place. It was just the underworld. It was different, and there was mystery, and there were things that lived there, like snakes and alligators who would disappear under the water, and you wouldn't see them come back up, so they were in the underworld. And one of the big guys in the underworld, who's actually a little guy, is Joti. Joti is the frog. And occasionally he would get hopoba, really, really hungry. And as he would poke his head up into the middle world to see what he could possibly eat, the biggest thing he could find was the sun or the moon. And with one giant leap, he would propel himself from the underworld, past the middle world, into the upper world, and he would latch onto the sun. And if you look at a sun as it's being devoured by the eclipse, it's rounded. And each time it gets farther, that's that frog working to pull the sun or the moon into his mouth to swallow it whole. The one thing we know is that the world always has to balance. Everything has to be within balance. And so our job as people is to not take too much, not to use too much, and to keep things in balance. Now, this was first documented in the 1500s by Spanish missionaries that were there for a lunar eclipse. When the people saw the frog begin to eat the moon, you would run and get pots, pans, bells, anything you could that made noise. And everybody in the village would run and scream and yell and hoop and holler and bang pots. They would shoot bows into the sky. Later, they would get guns and they would fire guns into the sky. You want to scare the frog into letting go of the moon or the sun. And once you did that, he would fall back into the underworld and everything would be balanced. So I want you to know, and this is a true story, the eclipse began, and I was at my home, and I have a neighbor. She better not know I'm talking about her up here. She's rather prim, very proper, not a little good sense of humor, and she kind of views me as odd. Now, I've only had a 10-foot buffalo stretched in my backyard that I've scraped and 200 deer legs scattered around my property because I'm doing things. So I don't know why she might think that's odd. But I see her working in her yard. And she's gardening and she's doing things, and the eclipse starts, and I go into my kitchen and I get the biggest old metal pan I can find. And I get the meat tenderizer. And I walk out onto my back porch. I just open the door and I walk out and I go, yay! And I bang that pot about 10 times. And then I walked backwards and shut the door. Now, we moved about 2 weeks ago. And I told my husband, I said, I know, she's still trying to convince her husband that I walked out onto the back porch and went crazy with a pot. But I want you all to know that I am the reason there's sun here today. So there's no need to thank me for saving the world, but I did. So next eclipse, especially you younger guys and gals, what are you going to do?
We're going to bang the pot and say, yeah!
Okay, everybody go, woo, loud. Yay! Exactly. So I want to hear all of that, and don't tell your neighbors why you're doing it. Just walk out and walk back in. I was like a cuckoo clock, man. I just didn't even... So that is the true story about the frog that eats the sun. You like it?
Yeah.
All right.